light within our hearts, light within our thoughts, light within our words. May one and all and everything, blessed and loved, ever be. Welcome. With me on the show today, I have my friend Eric Breault of Quantum Tones Healing. And the subject we wanted to discuss today is what I call Liberating Theology, which I interpret as resisting religiously sanctioned apathy. There are people who would want to look at, through theology, not to pick on the Presbyterians, but John Calvin was very fond, not only Presbyterians actually, John Calvin was a theologian from the Reformation era who wrote all this stuff about whether people were predestined to heaven or predestined to hell or predestined to whatever. That could be interpreted to say we don't have to care about these people because they're predestined to hell anyway. That's the kind of thinking, wherever it occurs, by whomever, in any context, that I oppose. Anything that tells you it's okay to say this person doesn't matter, or I don't have to love this person, or the ways that the Bible could be used to say that slavery is okay. All sorts of things, which there was a phenomena that developed, I guess, in the 20th century called Liberation Theology, that was very much oriented about that. That people who recognized that the way theology had been constructed and worded actually told the poor and the press that they were not supposed to object, that they were supposed to tolerate whatever injustice was heaped on them. I would say, if you want your theology to be liberating, if you want your theology to be sound, it has to have love and wisdom, and that to me argues against tolerating oppression.
Yeah, and a lot of the religions back in the old days created a lot of oppression, created a lot of instability, created a lot of non-progressive approach. And
well, they're very competitive.
Yes, very competitive. And, an example, I've been to Mexico back in 2005. I went for a trip for a Liberation Theology class. I went to Mexico and...
an actual class in Liberation Theology?
Yes, an actual class. And I've learned a lot about poverty.
Okay.
How there's a side of religion, Catholicism, that was oppressing their belief in their faith and what they...
The ways that Catholicism was being taught actually told the people they were supposed to stay poor?
I would say they were oppressing it. They were just didn't believe in poor people. Didn't support. They were unsupporting them. And the Catholic...
They refused to address the fact that they were suffering.
Yes, they refused to address it and not pay attention to it. And there were a group of nuns I worked with who were sort of radical.
Okay.
Their purpose, they felt that these people needed to be helped and needed to be empowered.
Okay.
Needed to be, and
one has to remember that in his day, Jesus was a radical.
Yes.
He was not a middle of the road, nice person you'd meet at church. He was a radical.
Very much so. And we had one of the nuns. She go in every day. She used to do Reiki and all that stuff, and they were very open-minded to Reiki, and she would go into town and do some sessions on certain people. And she used to go into town. There was a section called the railroad bed, where people were pushed there. People were pushed to that area and built shacks, and they lived there. And it's like a community. And interestingly,
but it was specifically an impoverished community because the people who wound up there, they wound up there because they were not allowed to be anywhere else.
Yeah, there was no place to go but there. They were like pushed there in a sense. The government was a big control with it, and
okay.
And their government just didn't believe in poor people. They just didn't feel that they were worthy. And these particular nuns would found programs and stuff, and then worked with other people, and they developed a school through grant money and all that stuff. And there were people in Vermont there were 2 people that lived in Vermont, moved down to Mexico purposely to be teachers and developed a school for these particular kids that lived in that community, within the shacks and all that. And the people there, and they were forced, the government is trying to push them out of the shacks, out of there now. And
Push them to where? Push them into the sea?
I don't know. It's just, the government is very corrupt in Mexico. Very corrupt.
Okay.
In Mexico City, that's the area I was
Well,
in.
and not just to point fingers at Mexico, though. There was a time where here in the United States, a lot of the major cities were offering homeless people a one-way bus ticket out of town to anywhere they wanted to go, just so long as they left. And I just thought, what a totally indecent and outrageous thing to do, is to tell a human being, we don't care where you go, we just want you to go away. I mean, it's as if you want to erase them from existence, but you don't have the courage to kill them yourself. Every human being is an amazing package of potential.
They're important. They play an important
They're
role.
important, and it depends to what extent it's developed.
Yes.
I've never checked it officially, but I have no reason to think it's not true. There was a particular popular movie where they had an anachronistic appearance by Leonardo da Vinci, and at one point the movie was Ever After, which does a lot of things that are anachronistic and inaccurate, but there's one point where the central character refers to her love affair with the prince, and she says, but I am but a servant. And Leonardo da Vinci responds, and I'm the bastard son of a peasant. What has that got to do with anything? And I haven't checked on exactly what Leonardo da Vinci's parentage was, but it does make sense to me that even in the most impoverished areas, people who are literally geniuses may still be born. And there has to be a system by which humanity finds them, nurtures them, educates them. I mean, if it weren't for Leonardo da Vinci, would we even have the Renaissance in Western history? I mean, he's got to be the most prominent figure in the biggest turnaround of European society. You know, any child in an impoverished slum area could turn out to be the next Leonardo da Vinci with sufficient nurturing. We really can't afford to turn our backs on anyone in need with that kind of miraculous possibility right under our noses. You know, to me, when they created the whole phenomenon of liberation theology, a theology that says, for those impoverished we care and we're going to do whatever we can. It's a way of living out my faith.
When you have those people that care, like these particular nuns, and these nuns are reaching out for other people to help support them and their calling, and it was like kind of interesting. These nuns were kind of like a secret in their little community, their little retreat area. They wanted to keep it little.
Secret how?
Huh?
A secret how?
In a sense that they were concerned about outsiders coming in and intervening in a danger, a threat. Their safety was every day. They had to be aware and be safe because they could be in danger by the government or by other people who don't agree with what the work they're doing. They don't agree with the work they're doing.
And some of them did wind up killed by the government.
Some people have been killed, yeah, by the government or whatever other people that just don't agree with what they believe in, and liberating people that are poor.
Yeah,
and trying to educate the children.
It destabilizes a situation in which those who are benefiting from the corruption would no longer benefit if the situation wasn't there.
Yes.
I suppose it's open to speculation, but I recall reading at one point that somebody somewhere, I guess, suggested that one of the things that contributed to the end of feudalism in Europe was the success of what was called the Third Order Franciscans. St. Francis of Assisi essentially started one order for men, a second order for women, and then the third order Franciscans was for lay people who wanted to live according to a Franciscan ideal, but in their homes, with their families, in their communities. One of the rules of the third order Franciscans was that they could not carry weapons. And it led to such a massive disarmament of Europe, according to this article that I read, that it was impossible to maintain the system of feudalism because of all the ways that tied into it. I mean, it was a very subtle grassroots kind of shift, but it's so subtly done that people don't readily point to it, I guess, but it actually undermined the system of feudalism in Europe and changed the continental societal landscape. But to me, it speaks of having true dedication and true faith when those nuns were dedicated to a service that in many cases did cost them their lives. Yes. They were living for something bigger than themselves, but in a sense it wasn't that they were trying to be heroines. They were living for a faith that was bigger than human situations of corruption and tyranny.
Yeah, and they were genuine of who they are, and they had compassion, understanding, they could see these people for who they are. Mm-hmm. They saw themselves in them. They didn't see themselves separate because as humanity, we're all equal. And they feel that these people deserve a chance, deserve the opportunity where they can have the resources and the education and the faith that they can liberate themselves beyond the oppression. And these nuns really...
and it's very much a legitimate question. If you cannot see the eyes and the face of Christ in the faces of the poor, then and I really question whether you can see it anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And these people are the friendliest people I've ever met. The most loving, the most supportive, the most open-mindedness. Mm-hmm. And they feel everyone has their colors, their true colors within them. And they have like the rainbow symbol on every section of their place, rainbow.
Okay.
They say which represents all diversity, are one. Every color, because we are very colorful people. And a lot of people become just black and white. They become cold and angry and hateful. So the rainbow represents being open-minded, being colorful, being our true selves, and being honest with each other. And they feel honesty was the key. Communication was the key to overcoming oppression. Mm-hmm. Their work is they do groups, a lot of group works out in the community, and their work is they work persistently every day to meet with people in need, and those who have concerns. The people go to them for any advice and support and.
But it's a very individual, direct, interpersonal sort of thing. It's not just throwing a resource at a category. Yeah. It's dealing with an individual and lifting them up as an individual, as a unique individual. Mm-hmm. And on a similar note, I guess, within Protestant Christianity, there is frequently this notion that if God likes you, you are blessed with lots of wealth, and if God doesn't like you or you've been a bad person, then you're poor. And the very notion of measuring God's blessing according to your financial bank statement to me is outrageous. I really don't think God has any need of human economics, and the whole notion of measuring somebody according to wealth just to me really doesn't make any sense, because it's about honesty and love and compassion. How
can an all-loving being like that have a judgment and not see the two sides of the coin, the wholeness of things? And how can a God like that can be not understand being in the shoes of that particular individual, being poor?
Well, and a truly liberating theology is going to bring liberty everywhere it goes.
Yes.
If it's creating restriction, it's not a liberating theology.
No, it's creating more oppression, more stagnant, being not changing, not being empowered, not being.
And if your theology gives you a reason or an excuse for not caring, for not loving, for not doing what you can, I question whether it's a legitimate theology.
It's not genuine, not at all. It's phony. To me, that's phony. To me, that's phony.
I can't see how it would create a genuine relationship with the higher being that I describe as the embodiment of highest wisdom and greatest love.
Yes.
How do you connect? I try to be very inclusive, but I keep coming back to biblical sources because of the ones with which I'm most familiar. But in the epistle of 1 John, it says that God is love, and whoever loves, the one who loves knows God, and God knows him, and one who doesn't love doesn't know God. If it all comes down to love, the person who cannot love is driving a wedge between themselves and the divine. Whether because of wealth or because of theology or because of race or any reason whatsoever, if there is something about your theology that prevents you from loving, I don't like to be totally in your face, confrontative, pointing my finger at people I don't know. I would say it's wrong.
Yes, it's not. It's not giving the quality of life for the people. They're taking the rights of others away. We're taking the dignity, self-worth. That's not right. That's not giving rights.
Well, and it's stripping you of relationships with people. You may look at them from a distance and decide, I don't need that person in my life.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say, pray that karma or this law of giving and receiving doesn't beat a path to your doorstep. Because the person who, if you have the audacity to say out loud where God can hear you, I don't need this person, don't be surprised if 2 days later you break down along the road, you have a flat tire and no tire wrench, and guess who wanders by with a tire wrench in their hand? Except the person you said, I didn't need that person. Well, and God says, do you want me to send them away so that you can sit here by the road with your flat tire, or do you want to welcome them into your lives? It doesn't make any sense. There is nothing wise about putting a wall between yourselves and others. What we need is not walls, but the bridges of love.
Now, that lack of acknowledgement and understanding and compassion, it needs to be broken down. It needs to be opened up so that people can just suddenly have a rock cold heart to a very warm, strong heart and open and understanding and realize, oh, I've been so hateful and so mean towards you towards my brother. Now it's time for me to be honest and benevolent towards you and tolerate and understand that there are things that there are differences, but I can honor the difference between us. You are my brother. I love you and forgive myself, I should say, for being the way I was towards you. And that's where the awakening could take place for the person. Just that divine realization that empowers them, and I know there are people going through that. There are individuals realize, what have I done? And they can make it right. They need to forgive themselves for what they've done and just move on and realize they can make a change from there on out. Because I think that's that.
But to understand also that it may mean rewriting your theology a bit.
Yes.
Each of us has a personal theology.
Yes.
Probably a lot of people haven't thought much about it or about what pieces it includes, but each of us has a personal theology that we're living by. And as long as we live by it, it will take us wherever it is designed to take us. And if we come to a point where we recognize that our theology is pointing away from loving and embracing another person, that's the point when I hope we have sufficient self-awareness to stop, rewrite the theology so it stays on the course of love. And
that is the key of staying firm in our beliefs and faith and love will allow us to open doors for others to join us in that love and faith. Because when people see others being caring, compassionate, understanding, and they say, there are people that are nice out there, and I can be that way too. Which means I have to change everything I do, but that's okay, because I am being supportive and understanding for others who are down in oppression, and allowing them to be empowered and liberated through theology in the way it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and there's very much a sense in which none of us can really win or be free or whatever you want to call it until we all are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an either-or situation. You can't be the only you can't be the only one to win in a game that is a team effort. You can't be the only one to survive a disaster, because there's no way you could do everything that needs to be done to recover from the disaster. There are so many things where the team effort is the only effort that will work. And especially as humanity is on a collision course with the global community, it is becoming more imperative than ever that we become an effective team. Mm-hmm. Not competing with each other, but collaborating together toward a vertical relationship as well as a horizontal relationship that makes a bigger world to live in. You know, that however we relate to divine mystery, to have a relationship with divine mystery that allows for maximum effectiveness on a horizontal plane. Mm. You know, our horizontal relationships are the relationships we have with each other. Our vertical relationships are how we relate to that which is greater than ourselves. Mm-hmm. Whether you want to call it God or the universe or higher order or principles or whatever, there is something greater than ourselves, and by relating to that, it empowers our relationships horizontally with everyone around us.
Because we're connected with that divine energy,
If we have a vertical relationship, however, that draws a tight circle mm-hmm. and leaves most of humanity outside the circle.
When you have both, you're saying there's more flow, and you can have that true connection with others, because you get connection with the divine. I mean, the horizontal and the vertical.
Yeah.
Having both is the key.
Well, if you have only vertical, then you're not going to survive long on the horizontal plane.
No.
You have
be like a battery blowing, or like a light bulb blowing up.
Yeah, well, it'd be this phenomenal amount of power going through, and the bulb would just explode. But there has to be something on a horizontal level that allows it to be shared.
Yes, it's important to share and exchange. That energy exchange is the key. When you're sharing that energy, it allows the others to be empowered, and then they can share that energy of empowerment and just butterfly effect.
And sometimes you're channeling the energy.
Yes, channeling.
It's coming down from above, it's coming up from below, and it meets in the middle, and it's got to go someplace, so it goes outward.
Yes.
If you let it.
It's infectious. It can be very infectious.
Can be.
It can be.
If you let it.
Yes. Just allow it to channel outwards, and like example, every day you can send love outwards to all of humanity. When you keep doing that every day, you're allowing that energy to channel to, I did like a meditation last night, healing.
And I'd be surprised if, for the nuns in Mexico, if there wasn't somebody who said, but this is the way we've always done it. To which they probably rolled their eyes and said, well, it's not going to be that way anymore, because I'm here and I'm contributing something different. I'm contributing love. I'm valuing people who haven't been valued before. I'm choosing to live out, to teach by example, a new theology that says everyone matters.
Everybody does matter. And people have to realize that, and they have to understand that and know it, because when you're in that...
and live it out.
Yes.
It's not just an idea up here.
Yes.
It's got to go all the way out through the fingertips.
Yes. And it's important that those who are oppressed to realize that they are deserving of being empowered and be able to overcome their depression and be the people that they're meant to be, and where they can truly express themselves. Because when you have those who are connected vertically and horizontally, like you're talking about, especially like those nuns I work with, and are giving that helping hand to those who are down here, it's like, you help them up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you may have somebody helping you up. Mm-hmm. When you do that, it's just sort of that
we
energy.
all rise together.
Yeah, we all rise together. Up at the big mountain on top, reaching for the top. We're all going to the same place.
And there's going to be one incredible party at the top of the mountain.
Yes.
Thank you so much for everything you've shared today. Yes. As usual, we've rambled all over the place, but there's so much more to say. But thank you for this conversation, and I'm grateful. Thank you, everyone in the viewing audience, for watching also. I guess to leave us with a final thought, theology is about what the words we say about the divine, about God. It's our attempt to come to terms with something greater than ourselves. It's us discovering what's beyond ourselves. It's not that we create it, it's the little piece that we glimpse. And everybody's special because they're inherently special, not because of what they have or what they can do or whether they're rich or poor.